One of the things that makes YANA, or You Are Not Alone, unique is the Comox Valley is the only community in British Columbia that supports an organization of this kind. YANA provides accommodation, living expenses when children and families have to leave this community and go and seek medical treatment elsewhere. We're here at the YANA headquarters at 2356 Rosewall Crescent, Unit 102. Here, YANA has a bright space, they've got meeting rooms, and Marcy Dumais is the executive director.
At YANA, we're helping families when they need to leave the Comox Valley for medical care for their children or for pregnant moms. So we're getting involved by providing them with accommodation and also with financial assistance for their trip, travel funding, and when they're staying for long periods of times, we're assisting with monthly funding.
YANA's funds come through the support of the Comox Valley, and every year they do a wonderful Christmas cracker campaign. So you too can come down and learn how to make Christmas crackers.
So you can see Leslie behind us making crackers, and soon we'll have this room filled with volunteers that are giving of their time to make crackers. So on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, starting October 11th, we'll have drop-in sessions, so they can just come to our Tintown office between 10 and 2 and craft up a storm, make our crackers, and then we distribute them out to different venues and they're sold.
And they run from Wednesday, October 11th through to November. They sell these wonderful crackers at Driftwood Mall, headquarters, different craft fairs, and you can buy them. Know that you're putting something, that's of value, it's a wonderful treat for your table, and you know that it's going to a good cause.
Our website is the best place to go, yanacomoxvalley.com. Look for events and then crackers. We also have information on Facebook, the YANA Facebook page, but the best is our website, yanacomoxvalley.com, where you can get all kinds of information about us.
From the Comox Valley, this is Judi Murakami for Shaw TV. We're here at the Comox Valley Business Expo, which has a wide variety of employers, plus a wide variety of people hoping to make connections. The Comox Valley is one of those rare places that we don't have a lot of large employers, but we do have a majority of small businesses, and this expo is a great way to showcase them.
Well, small business runs the economy, so 80% of most business in Canada is small business, so we want to celebrate it. So small business is anywhere from 100 people, 100 employees and down, so we really, almost every business in the Comox Valley is a small business, so we want to celebrate that.
I understand that Mackenzie Gartside is also part of the Downtown Business Association.
Yes.
Why do you think it's important to be at this trade show?
I think it's important that we are a part of our community, that we join together with other small businesses in our area and really form a group of supporting each other and reaching out into our community and making a presence.
Well, the Comox Valley Chamber celebrates small business, and we are the business champions in the Comox Valley, so we like to give people a venue to show us what they do.
What we do at a regional level with these shows is essentially try to get folks out of the woodwork. The Chamber of Commerce has a lot of small and medium-sized businesses that may use technology but not necessarily develop it or build it. We're trying to bridge those two worlds, from people that are making stuff to people that are using stuff. And just because we have such a wide region, to get people out and participate.
As with any future, it's really important to capture the young people. So here we have young people who are learning different trades, and they're going into business as well.
We have some young, eager students willing to look at different types of careers, different focus areas, to get work experience placements, mentorships, basically those kind of ideas behind students exploring and branching their wings out in our community.
And Betty, why is it important for North Island College to be here at a business expo?
Because it's important for businesses to know that North Island College has really highly skilled and newly trained students who could be awesome new employees.
From the Comox Valley, this is Judi Murakami for Shaw TV. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and when a child doesn't have parents because they've lost them through the epidemic of AIDS, then the grandmothers take over. For the Stephen Lewis Foundation and Glacier Grannies here in the Comox Valley, that's where people can help.
The whole generation of parents has been decimated by the AIDS pandemic.
It started with the Stephen Lewis Foundation, and Stephen, of course, was one of our wonderful ambassadors. He's very well spoken, very highly regarded, and when he saw this plight in Africa, he decided that he had to step up and do something.
Grandmothers don't have rights in Africa for land, and they just need support. They're coming to grassroots organizations in Africa, come to the Stephen Lewis Foundation asking for funds to support their causes, and if the Stephen Lewis Foundation deems it beneficial, then they are supported.
There are 250 groups across Canada, and on Vancouver Island, there are about a dozen organizations that help out.
Oh, I wish that we were able to solve this huge issue for the grandmothers and the grandchildren in Africa. So our goal is just to work hard and do everything we can to help our sisters.
And that can be in the form of making crafts and selling crafts at crafts fairs. We also put on events like this African dinner, and we've also held other events in the past, such as Scrabble tournaments, and sold Kaziri jewelry, lots of different things. And we also now are branching out to do more support in the community. If another organization's event needs some servers or dishwashers, we go and do that for a donation to the Stephen Lewis Foundation.
If you'd like to get involved and don't like meetings, you only have to go to 5 meetings a year. You can participate however much or however little you want, but all support is appreciated.
So our website is www.glaciergrannies.org, and there's a contact portion that you can contact us through.
From the Comox Valley, this is Judi Murakami for Shaw TV. Bonnie and Fred Cappuccino from Child Haven International started by adopting 19 children, found it very expensive, and decided they were going to build homes where the children actually come from. It's a lot more economical that way.
Well, Child Haven was founded by Bonnie and Fred Cappuccino in 1989, and they had 2 children of their own, and instead of bringing more children into the world, they decided to adopt. So they adopted 19 children from countries over Vietnam and India and China and different places. And then they decided that they could raise so many children in those countries what they would cost one child in Canada. I went to volunteer in 2003 for 3 months in a Child Haven home near Kathmandu. And when I came home, I thought I wasn't going to go back, but what I could do is host these dinners.
So you started this in the Comox Valley?
Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness.
And there's a few people from the valley that have gone to Child Haven homes, and a couple of couples have gone. One couple went 4 different times for 3 months each time. And there's people in Nanaimo and all over the island that have gone to Child Haven.
So if they want to get involved, where do they look for information?
The website is www.childhaven.ca. And they're always looking for interns, which are volunteers, to go over to their homes, and they would like a commitment of 3 months because it takes that long to kind of acclimatize to the people and the culture and customs. And then, you know, you don't go as a nurse or as a teacher, you go as a person that just wants to help, and you do whatever they ask you to do.
From the Comox Valley, this is Judi Murakami for Shaw TV. When you talk about roots, they are something that hold you and plant you into the ground. It could be vegetables, it could be family, and it could also apply to music. For Sam Hurry and Doug Cox, roots are really important.
I've really had an amazing life of touring all over the world and playing with amazing people in amazing places. It's not so important anymore. What's important to me now is my roots, being at home with my family, playing music with my friends, and getting the chance to practice and get better as a player, which is something that you don't do on the road.
I turn 70 next year, and I just feel like it's time to just chill, and I'm doing more work around so that I can be closer to kids and grandkids and home and all that kind of thing, but I'm not through yet.
To keep a balanced life, Doug sits in a swivel chair, has an office with 2 computers and guitars. So when he's not playing, he's also organizing Music Fest and the different performers in the Comox Valley.
It's true. When I'm working at home, I have my desk set up with a swirly chair, and I have 2 computers. So I go from my job with Music Fest to my job as a musician, and then I also have all my instruments lined up. So I spend all day just going around in a circle, making sure and trying to spend an equal amount of time on all of those things. It doesn't always work that way, but it at least forces me to practice a little bit every day, which is really the most important thing to me, but it's the thing that makes no money at all, the practicing part.
Coming from 6 generations of musicians, Sam Hurry comes by music naturally. His 92-year-old father still plays the guitar and the fiddle, and Sam has children and grandchildren that also play musical instruments.
Quite a few of my grandkids play as well. So for the Hurry family now, I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations of the family have been players.
You know, God looked down in the cool of the day, called Adam by his name. He refused to answer. He was naked in the shoe. Tell me, who's that riding John the River? Tell me, who's that riding?
To find out more information on where Sam and Doug are playing, you can go to coxandhurry.com or go to dougcox.org or the Cumberland Hotel where they're normally playing. In Cumberland, this is Judi Murakami for Shaw TV.
I enjoy absolutely all aspects of flying, whether it's flying a high-performance fighter, an airliner, or a very small open cockpit aircraft like this.
We're very lucky to have Dale here in the Comox Valley. He lives in Comox here with his wife and family. He built and helped build this plane during the winter at Courtney Air Park.
It's a challenge on so many different levels. You have to have discipline, you have to have some mechanical background, you have to have understanding of the elements.
Not only was he one of Canada's youngest instructors for the F-18, but Dale Earhart is now taking a plane that he helped build over to Vimy Ridge next year to help celebrate that anniversary. Dale's been a fighter pilot, test pilot. He loves everything about flying, and he's here today to explain what his role is and about the plane.
Right now we have 6 aircraft that we're planning to ship over to Vimy, France for the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Vimy and to commemorate that battle. And then we're going to ship them back to the eastern coast of Canada and fly them all the way across the country for the 150th anniversary of Confederation, as well as celebrating the 100th anniversary of the birth of a nation, literally, for the Battle of Vimy. Today's training includes bringing our last pilots up to speed. We have 10 ex-military pilots that are joining our team to fly. Some of us are airline pilots that are retired. We were all in the military before. Many of us were snowbirds or fighter pilots, or one of the other fellows is a helicopter pilot. And we've got a background in the Air Force and the Royal Canadian Navy in aviation, and we want to honor our airmen from the past.
Did you know that 2017 marks the anniversary of Vimy Ridge? You may not understand the importance, but it was the first time that all 4 battalions made a concerted effort, and they made such a landmark victory at that point that everything turned the tide and they marched on to victory from that point on. Vimy Ridge was so important that there's going to be a huge commemorative celebration next year in France. The Prime Minister will be there, the Queen will be there, and 200 classes from Canada will also be attending. I have a cousin who's in the Naval Reserve and she's saving up her pennies to go as well.
So I was invited to join the team a year ago. And when I was invited, I didn't need to have an aircraft. I was going to be one of the extra spare pilots, but we were 1 aircraft short. So I was helping to find a new aircraft, and we were very fortunate. We found a partially completed project down in Nanaimo. I picked up the project and I worked over the last winter of doing some modifications to bring this aircraft up to a safe standard so that I could join the team with an aircraft. So this is a local aircraft that has been built here in the valley. A common question we get asked is, why is there an arrow on the lift and flying struts? These wires are called flying wires, and these are called landing wires. When the aircraft lifts off the ground, these become very taut and these actually become slightly loose. So they don't interfere and rub with each other. We lock them in together. We could have used a piece of dowel, but in the Great War they had more arrows available than dowels. So it's just a sort of a symbolic thing that is being a fighter plane that has a weapon of the arrow on. Each of our aircraft are identified not only in their colors but also in the First World War fighter pilots that were involved in our local community. And the close one for us is Charles Hickey, who was born in Parksville and raised in Nanaimo. And at the age of 18, he joined the infantry over in the Canadian Expeditionary Force over in Europe, and then quickly went over to the Royal Flying Corps and became an ace and got 21 victories before his age of 21. Sadly, he died just 2 months before the end of the war.
And the plane is also dedicated to one of our local heroes, Boomer Andrew Eichenbaum, who was killed in 2006.
It's really important that we honor more contemporary veterans and all of our servicemen today. And Andrew Eichenbaum was the first medic that was killed since the Korean War in the early years of Afghanistan. So as an honor to him as a local hero, I wanted to make sure that his name was emblazoned on the aircraft as well.
So you were telling me about some of the different parts that went into it, including dirt bike tires, etc., and actually seems quite basic for a plane that's going to fly in the air.
So these aircraft were very simple craft in the First World War. They were made out of linen fabric and dope, which was highly flammable, a lot of wooden components, and they were very fragile. They used to call them kites or crates, and they were highly flammable, and many of the pilots were injured or killed in training, never mind in combat. This is a replica made with modern materials. So this aircraft, even though this is painted to look like wood, is made out of 6061 T6 aluminum, which is a very high calibrated aircraft material. All these components are aircraft components, modern aircraft components, but the aircraft is still very simple. Instead of using the original Gnome engine, which is a rotary engine, that would be so unreliable and difficult to keep operating today, we've actually used a derivative of the Volkswagen engine. And it's a 4-cylinder air-cooled engine designed for aircraft. The brakes and wheels we're talking about, when the aircraft was flown over in France, they didn't fly off runways, they flew off square fields. So they could always take off into wind. They didn't have a tail wheel, they had a wooden skid. And so what would happen to taxi is they would pull the stick back and the skid would dig into the dirt and that would slow them down. If they wanted to go forward, they would move the stick forward, which would lift the tail, and they could maneuver around the field. Unfortunately, to go on a hard surface like Courtney Air Park, we need a tail wheel. But when you put a tail wheel on one of these airplanes, it's a little bit like Bambi on ice. So now you need brakes, and it's ideal to have differential braking so that can assist in the steering. We have a steerable tail wheel as well as brakes. To keep these components light, because the aircraft is so small, it's mountain bike brakes that we've adapted and very light enduro motorcycle rims that try to make it look realistic by putting a skin over the top, but still has modern materials. The gun on the top is a Lewis machine gun, and it was one of the very early adaptations. Later they found a way to synchronize the bullets to go through the propeller so the machine gun was lined up more with the pilot's sight. But in the early part of the war, the pilots would use something like this as their crosshairs, and they would align the gun to that, and that's how they would line up to shoot down the enemy. The magazine on the top only held about 36 shells, so if they had to leave the fight, they literally had to stand up, steer with their knees, tilt the gun back, and change the magazine while they're being shot at and trying to fly, and then put it back into position. The trigger was brought down through a cable into the cockpit.
Oh my goodness.
The gentleman who designed this aircraft's plans, someone had actually suggested it's more of a book of ideas. They're fairly primitive plans that they only gave about a page and a half on how to build the wing, but he had 7 pages on how to build that wooden machine gun replica. So he was obviously a bit of a historical buff and trying to make sure that that machine gun looked right. Basically, it's all about managing risk. And those challenges I find intriguing and something that I think you just have to do to really appreciate.
So we wish Dale good weather, good health, and happy flying. From the Comox Valley, this is Judi Murakami for Shaw TV.